My name is Brian Will. This is my second year as a senior. I have a double major in computer science and English with a minor in data science, and I've been involved in the Catholic campus ministry for about 4 years now. I was raised Catholic. My mom was pretty adamant about me going to church and youth group on Sundays, and that sort of became my core social group. And then I graduated and came to school. And as I entered college, sort of dropped faith and sort of went to a really dark place. I didn't have any friends because, like I said, my social group before was high school youth group. But after like a year of not really being involved with anything, I started to sort of get this pulling towards community, towards people. So that's sort of what got my foot in the door into the Catholic campus ministry, into the St. John Bosco Center. I didn't really necessarily feel like I fit in, but I kept on sort of showing up and hanging out in the lounge, talking to people, and eventually it got to a point where I'd been around so much that this focus missionary named Nick Grievous asked me to go out to lunch. We went to a pizza place downtown. We're sitting there eating, and Nick sort of just explains to me, what the gospel is, what Jesus is all about. He sort of lays it out, and he asks me, where's Jesus in your life? This had been something that I hadn't really thought about a lot in the last year. And actually, if I was being honest with myself, God wasn't any part of my life in the last year. If anything, I was angry. Like I said, I was in a dark place. So when Nick asked me that question, I didn't really have an answer, because I was sort of well, he's not in my life. I mean, I know that I want him to be in my life, but I didn't know if that was even possible anymore. I sort of had that mindset of I want God back in my life, but I don't think I deserve it. Nick told me I was wrong. He told me that was a flawed way of thinking, and that I did deserve God's love. He got me to go back to confession. I went, had a really awesome experience with that. And after that, I sort of started turning things around. I started getting a little bit more involved with the campus ministry. As I got more involved, things started to happen that really started letting faith take root in my life. I was attending this poker night that the Catholic campus ministry used to hold. And we were hanging out, and I sort of withdrew myself, and this guy named Robbie Renner comes into the conference room and starts asking me what I'm doing, just sort of getting to know you questions. So one of the things he brings up is Marian consecration, and I had never heard of this before. This was a completely new concept to me. Up until this point, I had been so out of the loop with faith that I didn't even think Mary was a reasonable doctrine to believe in. He gives me the book, True Devotion, by Louis de Montfort. I kind of put the book on my bookshelf, and it sat there all semester. And then going into the summer, I picked it up and started sort of flipping through it, started reading it. A lot of the ideas, they really resonated with me, and I started to grow a deeper respect for Our Lady. So that summer goes by, and I've been so involved now with the campus ministry that I'm on their student leadership. And at the beginning of the fall semester, we are organizing a rosary walk. And I went to go hand a rosary to another focus missionary, Tim Goodwin, and he just holds his wrist up, and he's got a rosary wrapped around it. And he says, I always keep my sword drawn. When Tim said that, it just sort of clicked. And I decided that, you know what, I'm gonna make my own. I go back to this Marian consecration book, and I'm okay, maybe consecration is something worth doing. So I sort of stayed plugged in, continuously growing, going to daily mass now, every Sunday mass and Bible study, and the end of the spring semester comes, and I'm you know what, I'm gonna consecrate to Mary. That is where my faith actually got grounded in something. After actually going through the process and consecrating to Mary, it finally felt like I had a solid rock. And it all happened from getting involved with the campus ministry. It was a positive, prayerful community that made me want to take that step. The Catholic campus ministry can really transform your life, but it's not going to transform your life if you're just sitting in the lounge like a couch potato. That's not going to have any impact on you. So I really would urge you guys, if you're new students, if you're freshmen, if you're upperclassmen who are kind of doing what I was doing, just showing up, I I would really challenge you to get more involved, because when you get involved, that's when those key events, those small things that start pushing you closer to God actually happen. And if you're a freshman, I'm going to tell you, it's incredibly important to just get plugged into this community. The more plugged into the community you are, the more you're going to be impacted. The more small events are going to happen that are going to draw you closer to God.